Ready
Yeah,
to get
sure.
going, Coach?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm right here. Yeah.
Okay. Would you like to start with an opening statement or go straight to questions?
No, we're fine. Go ahead.
Okay. First, we're going to go to Mark Weiser and then Anthony Dasher.
Hey, Tom, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. Hey, I want to start off with when the Bulls semifinals were announced yesterday. Jim Harbaugh mentioned you right away, with the connection. So I want to go back when you met Joni, I guess, at Western Kentucky. I guess Jim was maybe in the NFL. When did you know you were getting into a coaching family, and how would you kind of describe your relationship with Jim, with two coaches that have had success in their professions?
Well, when did I know? We met, and eventually we started dating. And I guess I knew I was getting into the family once I asked her to marry me, and her parents said it was okay. So back in the we got married in '93. So my relationship with Jim and John is great. I mean, I love it. We've been brother-in-laws for 28 years now, and known each other a little bit longer than that. And I always had a lot of respect for Jim when he played, and then obviously getting to know him on a much different level. And it's family. I mean, it just is. There's so many discussions that take place. There's so many, whether it's on the phone, whether it's texting, the occasional times that it's in person. It's ongoing, it's constant, and there's a lot of things that go into it. And I have tremendous respect for Jim, just like I do for John. I mean, if I wasn't related and I didn't know him the way I do, I'd still look up to both of them in a huge, huge way, because they're tremendous leaders. They're tremendous parents and husbands. And obviously they're great to me. They're unbelievably great to my three children. And they have the three of them with Joni, they just have just a tremendous relationship, which all stems from Joni's mom and dad, Jack and Jackie.
Well, one more thing about that, kind of what have you learned from him as a coach as his career has gone on, and how much do you guys just talk, you guys both deal with the demands of the coaching profession. How much do you talk about, things that can help each other in your own way?
Well, I think that's what it is. I mean, I've learned a ton, and it's ongoing. And I had a visit with him last night. He was in the midst of 3 different recruiting stops last night, and we'd had a guest. We'd had Tony La Russa in yesterday, and Tony knows Jim, and we tried to call Jim earlier in the day, and Jim was calling back to see if he was still here. Long story short, I think we talked about numerous things that go on inside our own programs. I mean, there's always a comparing of notes, and he's at a championship level. I've been at a championship level. It doesn't make a difference. Time is always moving in a way that you've got to deal with things in real time. And that's usually what it is. So it's an ongoing learning process. And it's usually, I end up being better every time I have a visit with them, every time I see them, every text. Same thing with John early this morning, who's coming off a tough loss. So, there's the coaching part of it, but more importantly, there's the relationship part of it that comes from being related.
Coach, want to follow up on that, and I apologize because I do want to talk basketball with you. But when you found out the game it was going to be Georgia, Michigan, just what was your initial reaction? And wasn't Coach Harbaugh in town for a game this year at one point?
No, he hasn't been here for a game. Not this year. No,
not this year?
Well, we had a speaker. We had a couple of speakers yesterday, and so I was in the midst of practice. It was in between that I found that out. But I think it's like I'm very happy for Kirby and his entire staff, entire program, really. I mean, I get to see how hard they work on an everyday basis. And it's very impressive. I mean, it's extremely impressive. You all know that. I mean, but I'm also extremely happy for my brother-in-law and his program and for what they're doing. I mean, he's dealt with a ton of adversities and negativity and things like that over time. And it's so great to see him and that entire coaching staff and program overcome it and be successful. So my initial reaction is that I'm happy for both, right? I mean, I mean, Kirby and I have developed a friendship over a period of time. We don't see each other nearly as much this time of year, obviously, as we do in the other parts of the year. But I mean, I follow them on a daily basis, and my brother-in-law is my brother-in-law. So it is what it is. And I'm excited for both of them that they're at the championship level that they're at.
As far as your game tomorrow night, coming off the win over Memphis, have you noticed like a energy, kind of getting a boost, or kind of how has that been?
Yeah, I think so. But we've been hard on them in the sense that we've got to clean some things up, and whether it's through the film watching or on the court, and understanding, because one of the issues that we've had is understanding it's a 40-minute game, and some of our self-imposed issues have been when we didn't take care of it the way that we could have in the last couple of minutes. Now, the other night we did, and that was something that we want to build upon. But it's been very good, and we've tried to build it in the sense of having good, sharp, solid, intense practices, but at the same time make sure that there's some cerebral part to it. Like Saturday, just watching a lot of film, walking through everything that Jacksonville does, adding some situational things for us, and then coming back yesterday, going hard. We took Thursday off. We went hard on Friday, and I'm going to try to be moderate today as long as it's at a good level. But at the same time, we had a gentleman named Cedric King that was a master sergeant in the military and lost both of his legs. And he's a good friend of Tony La Russa's, who he got to know through Bill Belichick. Tony comes up to see me and see us yesterday and has Cedric King meet us. I mean, we couldn't have asked for a better day. And Cedric King was unbelievable with our team. And then Tony La Russa watches practice and then he speaks to the team. So like, it's, you want your team to be moved in a lot of different ways, whether it's the intensity of the practice, whether it's the thought that somebody gives them, whether it's the inspiration that somebody gives them, whether it's what they see on film. And those are the kind of things that we try to make sure that we're doing. So we're going to have our work cut out for us in Jacksonville, because they're very ball controlled. They're very, they don't play real fast, and they're staying in games. They could have definitely beaten Central Florida at Central Florida. They were in the game, came back all the way back into it against Minnesota. They're coming off a road victory at Charleston Southern. Jerome Mincy, their coach, is doing a fantastic job after leaving Florida. They're very big. They play a very get it inside style, but they also have some good quick guards. So it's going to be a game that we're going to have to do our very best to try to get some pace in the game and not get frustrated when we can't get it, but at the same time, be very, very aggressive in the game.
Okay, next we're going to go to Jeff Schultz and then Zach Klein.
Okay.
Hey, Tom.
Hi, Jeff.
First of all, who's Joni rooting for in the football game?
Well, Joni's a lot like me. I think when you've got a family member in it, but she also loves Georgia, I don't think you really look at it from a fan point of view. And I don't watch either team as a fan. I mean, I really don't. I don't watch the Ravens as a fan. I don't watch some of my other really close friends as a fan. I mean, and coaching, I'm usually too stressed. I mean, frankly, the Ohio State game for both of us was really, really tough, because you want to see him be so successful. It's just so different when it's family, and it's different when it's friends. And that's just the way that it is.
So she's going to be pulling for Michigan against the school that her husband works for.
Yeah, I gave you my best answer, Jeff.
After the Memphis game the other night, I was watching on TV, and I know you two hugged, and you hugged their kids and stuff. I mean, how emotional was that? And how emotional and difficult has this recent journey been for you, particularly, since the offseason when all the players left and everything? Yeah,
I don't think that was as hard as people would think on the outside. What you want to do is when somebody leaves, you want to make sure that you hit it right. Now, is it hard at the end of the day to have 10 new players, and then all of a sudden you turn around and a guy that was one of the better matchup problems in the league, and he's on your team, and PJ Horn goes down, those become hard. And I think the hard is in the moment. The hard is in if you didn't practice as well as you'd like, or this guy's not getting it this way, or this guy's not getting it that way. Those are the hard things. I think it's very, very hard on a family. It's in the case of my family, I'm sure it was highly stressful when we're at Indiana, we're number one in the country. It doesn't matter. When you're a family member, it's stressful. It's hard because you don't have the outlets that the coaches have. You can't go to the practice field or to the practice court. You can't turn on the film and stay behind it. You can't go on the road recruiting. It's so hard. They don't have the outlets. And my son's learning that now as a young aspiring coach, being a student assistant for us. He's learning that, when you have outlets, now there's more that you can try to do about it. And to me, he's got a stronger work ethic than I ever had at the age of 22. It's just amazing to watch it. But I think it is. And I think the other day, because We go through it. Our daughter's at an age now where, she's old enough to see it. Our 16-year-old, I think it was a combination of getting the win. It was a milestone victory for us with the 400. And they put a lot into this. And again, when I walk out the door in the morning or walk in the door at night, I've had a chance to try to impact what we need to do to build a result. They don't have that. And it's just, I'm very understanding of that. But our family goes through it together. That's why the number one thing I've always negotiated since Marquette is family travel, no matter what. And because it's important that they have the opportunity to go through this. I don't have a lot of hobbies. I never did. And one of the big things is, who do I root for? Who does she root for? She roots for our kids, right? Like when we go to their sporting events. So to have them be in line with us and be able to be involved in this is so important. There's some highs and lows to that. So when the highs are there, you want to make sure you enjoy them.
You said you said guys leaving aren't necessarily hard as long as you replace them. But I'm just curious, after the season, do you go through any sort of self-reassessment at all? I know as coaches, you generally do that anyway, but in particular, was last year jolting? Was there any higher level to it at all or not really? Well,
first off, in answer to your first part of your question, I think you do it every day. And if you don't do it every day, well, you kind of do every day with practice. But absolutely. But again, what goes on behind the scenes, right? And what you're trying to work through. And at the end of the day, then you end up knowing the reasons, right? And the last thing you can do when you know the reasons or something comes up, in this day and age, the ones that spend too much time and it'll hit football programs, never maybe to the level that it'll hit basketball programs because there's just obviously not as many players. But if you spend too much time worrying about what just happened and those type of things, you're going to be way behind. You're going to be way behind. And the portal is a 24/7, 365 day a year thing, whether they've announced it or not. And see, that's what you just have to deal with now. So to me, you've got to be really, really strong on when some change comes, making sure that you do everything to make it better. Now, the hard part is you're bringing in players that they haven't been in your program. And we've got one Division I transfer here that started on their Division I team last year. And that's unique. Jalen Ingram was the only one that started on his team. Now the junior college players did, and the freshmen started on their teams, but we've got to build it up. But I have no regrets with this team right now and the way that they work, the way that they act. Has it been a learning process? Absolutely. Has it been quicker in some areas and slower than others? Yeah. And when you have new players, you can't ever really determine how that's going to be because you can't go back to last year's practice plan or 5 years ago's practice plan and say, hey, we're just going to do it this way. It just doesn't work that way anymore. It never really did, but now it never works that way. So you've got to be able to go at the rate that your team needs you to go at, but at the same time, you know what it takes to win. So you've got to make sure that you're coaching those parts of it every day. But I'm happy with the guys that they got. I love the spirit of these guys. And I could go on with what we're getting done academically, with people that they're in the classes, they're on time. I don't want to go down that line, but we've got a good group of guys that are really, really working at a high rate and putting Georgia first because of the way that they work. Now, that doesn't mean that we've got it figured out because we don't by any stretch, but I do think we're at a good place for where we're trying to build it. I really do.
Hey, Coach, it's Zach. A few things for you. One, would I be correct to assume that not one of your players had ever heard of Tony La Russa? And two,
no, that's not true at all. Aaron Cook's from St. Louis. You're insulting their intelligence. These guys have. I guarantee you this: they may not have heard of Cedric King or Tony La Russa, but they knew about him when they left.
Yeah, and that was the follow-up. What was the message that really resonated with them when you were having?
You'd have to ask them. I think the whole thing was about Cedric King was just incredible. It's just incredible, the message. And it's really about what your mind is able to control. And here's a gentleman that lost both legs in Afghanistan. And after his surgery, when he saw that, he didn't reference who it was that was running. I imagine it might've been Oscar Petrius, but that a man was running prosthetics, that he told the doctor that that's what he wanted to do. And the doctor basically said, you need to worry about walking before you run. And a year later, almost to the day, he was running an Army marathon race, a 10 miler. He left us yesterday to go run a 13 miler an hour from here. I mean, it's just, I'm not doing justice to it. So I don't even mean to bring it up because I'm not even doing justice to who this man is. But the same thing with Tony La Russa, the togetherness. Tony brought his rings out, which I'd seen his rings, but I'd never seen them together. We've been friends for about 18, 19 years. And I think that got everybody's attention. But we had players that knew. And when you describe somebody, say the only guy ahead of him is Connie Mack, and he managed for 50 years and he owned the team, so he wasn't getting fired. And when you've got the second all-time winningest manager of all time standing in your midst that came in special from California through Chicago to come here on his own, I mean, that's a pretty strong statement.
For sure. And finally, playing at home up until what, the second week of January, what does it allow you to do practice-wise, timing-wise, recuperation-wise, that instead of ping-ponging across,
Well,
week?
I think our schedule's been so our schedule would have been challenging for a veteran team, let alone one that's got 10 new players with the teams that we played and the style of plays that we were playing. But that's what it is. It's beneficial, and we have to make it that way. I think with tonight and then not again till next week, it gives us a continued chance to really, really isolate skills, to isolate fundamentals, to continue to work on our shooting, to build new things that we're going to need. Because Christmas used to be the time that you used to be able to do a lot of different things. Well, that's not the case as much anymore. There's a 4-day break, 3-day break at Christmas, 4-day break. We turn around, we play the 29th, and then boom, we're right in the league. So you're in full mode, not only getting better work in your practices, but you're in preparation. So I think what we'll do, then we have a span where we have 3 games in 5 days after the exam situation or the exam time here. What we'll do is we'll work ahead, but we'll make sure that we are absolutely crystallizing some fundamentals that we've got to have, and at the same time, make sure that their conditioning and their bodies are healing up the best way they can.
Okay, thanks, Coach. Good luck tomorrow.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.